Hey everybody, Jason Blaha here with Ice Cream Fitness. Today I want to talk to you about the benefits of high rep training, or as I often call it, metabolic training or training for metabolic fatigue. Sorry I look a bit depleted today and a lot smaller than usual. I'm still cutting for my contest and I only had 1900 calories last night during my feed window and had a 4-hour long full body depletion workout today. So again, I'm pretty depleted and flat at this point. Final pictures are due in less than 2 weeks, or just over 2 weeks. So I have a bit of work left to do. Here, I'll give you guys a couple of shots, anyways. Though, give you a bicep shot and my thighs. All right. The reason I chose this topic is a couple of people have requested that I address the topic of metabolic fatigue and metabolic training. And discuss a little bit of the benefits of it. I'm normally a proponent of primarily lower rep work, heavier work with higher intensities for purposes of hypertrophy. But again, I don't like to be dogmatic in my approach. I don't think that there's one best way to do things. And I don't think that always the same approach should be used at all times for someone seeking, maximum gain, someone trying to get as big as they possibly can. So that being said, I want to jump for a few minutes into the benefits of higher rep training. One theory, and this is again often espoused by many experts, even members inside the exercise science community and researchers, but it's pretty controversial, and I don't want to make it the primary focus of the topic because it's completely unproven. There's some data to suggest it, but it's never been proven. But I want to touch upon it anyways. It's oftentimes said that again, there's two basic types of muscle hypertrophy that happen inside the actual muscle cell. One type is called myofibrillar hypertrophy, which is the actual hypertrophy of the contractile proteins, at the end of the muscle cells, and this is considered to be more of a functional hypertrophy as far as creating greater load and greater strength. And this is often attributed to lower rep work with heavier loads. And then there's what's referred to as sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, which is not within the tissue proteins themselves, the contractile proteins. It's within the body of the muscle cell. And it's an increase in the cytoplasm, the cellular structures and things within the muscle cell. And this is often attributed to being more due to metabolic type work, higher rep work. The problem with this is that there's no way to cause only one type of growth or the other. All types of resistance training, if they induce hypertrophy, do tend to induce both types of hypertrophy. The debate is that some types of training may produce more of one than the other, but they never occur in isolation. And again, there are experts who do promote this, and there seems to be some data to suggest it. However, there are also experts even within the scientific community who completely disagree. We say that you cannot induce a significant amount more of one than the other to your training style. So instead, what I want to touch upon is the other benefits of doing higher rep work or metabolic work. Generally speaking, in terms of actual tissue hypertrophy, anytime you're using a load at least 70 to 75% of your max, which is usually going to put you in the 8 to 12 rep range, you're going to have just as many fibers being recruited as long as you're taking the sets close to failure as you do with heavier low rep work. So that being said, in terms of tissue hypertrophy potential, it's still pretty well equal to working with 80-85% of your max down in the 5 to 6 rep range. But the upside of doing it this way, whereas, and I've said before that with the higher load work, you increase neural efficiency more, and it allows for a faster rate of progressive overload sometimes, and it also allows for sometimes continued progressive overload for a longer period of time before you have to reset, deload, or change something in the routine. But on the other end of it, you can still achieve the same basic hypertrophy potential using the higher reps. However, you can often do so with fewer total sets. So you might be able to induce near maximum hypertrophy off of a lift doing only 3 or 4 sets, in the 8 to 12 rep range versus having to do maybe 5 down in the 5 to 6 rep range to induce the same level of overload to get the same level of muscle growth. And on top of that, you can generally take slightly shorter breaks. So for someone who's got big time constraints and they're trying to get in and out of the gym quickly, there's the efficiency aspect of using the higher reps for purposes of inducing hypertrophy. So there's that factor to consider. But again, that really is subjective down to opinion and individual needs. So what do higher reps offer all the time for anybody that can't always be achieved as easily with lower reps? And I think the answer to that is that higher rep work, metabolic work, particularly when you start doing some of the more aggressive metabolic type training, something like it's really famous like GPT, German volume training, to where you're doing 10 sets of 10 for 100 total reps with like 60 seconds between each set. I mean, the workload density you achieve on something like that is quite insane. And I mean, the metabolic fatigue that it induces if you're doing training like that is also quite extreme when compared to doing something like 5x5 with a heavier load. And what you see with this is not so much that it enhances the actual tissue proteins more, but what you see is more storage factors. And if you want to train muscles to pump up better, if you want to train muscles to fill out more whenever you carb load, metabolic training does seem to be superior for purposes of training things like glycogen storage, triglyceride storage, possibly even enhancing the size of capillary beds. And these are mechanisms that you can use to increase the size of a muscle without actually making the tissue proteins larger. So when you look at it that way, there are distinct advantages to that. I don't think it's the best way to necessarily gain muscle mass year-round. But again, if you're peaking for an event or you need to look good for a certain day, starting to include quite a bit of metabolic work a few weeks out from that event, can refine your physique quite a bit. It can help the muscles pump up a bit, with more glycogen and to look thicker and fuller. So again, even for someone who's pursuing aesthetics but still wants to train within the strength ranges and in the lower rep range with heavier loads, there still can be advantages to including some higher rep work and metabolic work into your routine. And that's really all I have to say about that today. Here, let me give you one more bicep shot, and I'll talk to you guys next time.